Okay, it is 5:02, Monday, December 9th, 2024. I'm going to call this meeting of the Copley Fund to order. And do we have any additions or changes?
No.
Okay. We have minutes to approve from November 18th, 2024.
I would move to accept the minutes of November 18, 2024 for the Copley Trust Fund.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard. Craig, any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of November 18th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Judy? Okay, so we're going to conduct some interviews here. Thank you, Mary Ann. You're welcome. Mary Ann Wilson, for putting your name out there to apply for Gloria Wing's position on the Copley Fund Board. The way we're going to do this is we've allocated about 12 to 15 minutes for each interview. We do have 4, and we have your application, and hopefully we've all had a chance to read it. We do have a few additional questions to ask. We have 4 questions to ask, and there may be follow-up questions, of course, with that. And then we're hoping to go into executive session around 6 o'clock today, and we may make a decision between 6 and 6:30.
We don't have to be present to win, right?
No. So I'm going to start things off, and so I'm just going to ask, what are you hoping to accomplish if you're appointed to this board?
Well, I know that sometimes the projects are slow moving. Not that I can hurry them up, but I've always been interested in development. You know, I've been in municipal government for over 25 years, and I've watched the Copley Fund, and I know about the Copley Fund. And one of the things is that there is development needed, and I know that there are restrictions and ins and outs with the Copley Fund, but there is money there. And so good projects could come before you, us, and there'd be some money to fund it. That's not always the case.
Okay, thank you.
Dick?
Yep. Why do you think the Copley Fund Trust Board work is important to the community?
Well, for the very reason that Mr. Copley was our benefactor, our town's benefactor, and that needs to continue. His will needs to continue, and what he has set up, and then how it's been modified too. But I think that it's important for Morristown to continue the good work of the fund.
Mm-hmm. Laura?
I was given number 2, correct?
Yes.
So how would you handle a situation where your personal views differ from what is best for the community?
One thing that I learned over the years is that the decision of the board is final. And so I could, if I was really against something, I could recuse myself. But if it's working toward the good of the community, I'd probably be on board.
Richard?
You want me to do number 3 or number 4?
Number 4.
Oh, because you already did the other one.
I did.
You snuck in there at a turn.
I'm well,
Mixing it up there.
yeah.
You're tricking me. I didn't know there was going to be a test. Who maintains the books and records of the Copley Trust Fund?
The town.
George, or?
I've got one clarifying one. Mary Ann, it doesn't track with me, so just check. It's on your application. The question is, do you provide any goods or services to the public related to this board or committee? And you answered yes.
Do I provide any funds?
Goods or services to the public under which this board/committee operates?
The answer would be no.
The answer would be no. Okay.
Thank you for asking.
That's what I thought.
You
but
serve the public, but not this one.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. That's a good question. I did notice it was yes.
And I actually had the same question as well, because I didn't understand, what your connection would be
Right.
for that, so.
And I didn't take into consideration the extent to which I was supposed to apply, on the application. I just thought it was just part of the process.
Is there anything you'd like to add that you haven't been asked?
Well, I will tell you that I feel that I know a lot about the Copley, the Alexander Copley Fund. Because my over 25 years in the town, I worked with it, and I sat in on the meetings, and I didn't do the financial reports, but I had to acquire them from the trustee, and I had to get them published in the town report. So, I feel that I've worked with it a long time. And also, Gloria Wing and I were very good friends. And we talked about the Copley Fund and the Alexander Hamilton Copley Fund. And I'm already helping Dick on the Copley Fund, which is the Copley Munson Fund, which I even did a little bit on when I was town clerk, because I knew who was in town. And so then when I talked to Gloria about the Alexander Copley Fund, I said I would really be interested in being a part of that, because I feel I've been connected to it for a while.
Recording in progress.
You can take the girl out of the town, but you can't take the municipality out of the girl. And I'm still very close. I served on Morristown Rescue. I was in lots of development committees over the years. I'm on the DRB. And Morristown's my town.
Yeah.
Let's see, let me just check my notes. And I'm impressed by the fund, because the basis of the fund was like $257,000. And now I have the report that ended in 2022, and it's $1,900,000 something. But I bet with the way it's been invested and the investment policies, it's over $2 million. And I don't know that because I haven't seen the latest, but I know that.
Yeah. You alluded to Gloria. Yes, those are big shoes to fill, aren't they?
Yeah,
So,
but she taught me well.
yeah. Go ahead, George.
What kind of a time, how many years, Mary Ann, are you thinking, is this a 5-year hitch for you, a 10? And the reason I ask this is we've lived with 2 very long-term
Yes,
permanent members, Dick and Gloria.
right.
The select boards somewhat come and go, depending on how the elections go and whatnot. Certainly those 5 people are the most variable of the group. Dick has probably
So far.
worked with 30 select board members at least over time. And I don't know whether that is a big factor or not, but I think the institutional memory
Yes,
for the Copley Trust rests in the 2 non-select board members.
exactly.
Can you talk to it at all?
Like I say, I've been familiar with it, for 25 years, and we've talked about it. I've been in on some of the projects. I'm getting older, so I probably won't last as long as Dick or Gloria, but, I'll give it a good shot.
Thank you.
Mary Ann, we're going to be scheduling a meeting probably after the first of the year. And it's going to be a workshop for the committee so that everybody on the board really fully understands, what the mission is. Because historically, through all of the things that the money's been attributed to in the best community interest, there's factors like the town is responsible for long-term maintenance on any project that it permits. So there's some questions in terms of how we analyze applications. We're talking about doing a pre-screen so that nobody comes before the board who doesn't really actually qualify, and sort of lay down the groundwork for how we want to move forward and doing it in the best interest of the fund as well as the municipality. So there will be, an organization meeting, I think, sometime after January, just so that you're aware if you're appointed to the board.
Very good. we're doing the same thing with MDF, as you know, the development fund.
Right.
So I understand that part.
Any additional questions?
I have no question.
Thank you for coming in, it's
Yeah.
great to see you, that you're interested.
Very interested, very
Richard?
interested.
No. Well, thank you very much,
Okay,
Marianne.
thank you.
Thank you very much. We will,
And the,
I'm sure somebody from administration will get back to you very soon.
I guess I'm invited.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Public meeting.
when you ask for additional questions in the law business, don't you have to just have one more question? That means you have 5 more questions.
Hot seat. Mike? Hello, Charles, good to see you.
Joy.
Raise your right hand.
Hello, Charlie. Hey, thank you very much for putting your name out there to fill Gloria Wing's position on the Copley Fund Board. We appreciate that. So the way we're going to run this was we've allocated about 12 to 15 minutes for this interview. We've all received your application. We've had a chance to read it, and we just have a few additional questions that we'd like to ask you. And we're hoping around 6 o'clock tonight. There's 4 applicants in all. You're our second. And we're hoping around 6 o'clock tonight to go into executive session, and we may be making a decision tonight as to who's going to fill Gloria's seat.
Be a tough choice.
Tough shoes to fill, you're right. So my question to you is, if you are appointed to this position, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Adding some dimension to the board. It's already quite a bit of dimension on the board. Adding
Did you say dementia?
dimension.
We already have that.
Just clarification.
Let's be clear, no. Dimension in terms of my past experience has been on a lot of different boards. And I like the dynamics of a board, because everybody brings something to the table, and then it's a matter of discussing and coming up to arrangements that make sense to everybody. And I think my past board experience can bring a lot to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Dick?
Why do you think the Copley Trust Fund Board's work is important to the community?
Well, in reading the will, I note that it talks about civic improvements and beauty. And I think my background as a landscape architect and dealing in quite a number of civic projects over the years, that I would help to guide some of the projects that might come before the board, and maybe even suggest some projects.
Thank you.
How would you handle a situation where your personal views differ from that, from what is best for the community?
Well, I think the will is fairly specific on just exactly how that's to be interpreted. And I don't think personal feelings have a lot to do with it, other than if somebody comes along with a project that doesn't really fit the criteria, then your personal feelings might come into play to make some judgments.
Richard?
Charlie, who maintains the books and records of the Copley Trust Fund?
I believe it's the town clerk and the auditors.
George or Chris?
I don't have any questions for Charlie. I appreciate your application and the skill sets that you bring to the table for us.
Charlie, obviously the seat that's open was held by a long-term board member in Gloria. Dick is also a long-term standing board member. They represented pretty much the institutional memory of the Copley Trust. Some others, the select board comes and goes depending on how long they wish to stay or the community wishes to stay. Do you anticipate staying on the board long enough, if selected, to fill that institutional memory void?
I do. My wife and I have talked about retirement plans and talked about other locations, and we decided that we wouldn't want to move somewhere where we didn't know anybody. And all of our friends and people that we've known for 40 years or more are here. Many years ago, I worked very closely with Gloria on the town gravel pit, and that was about a year-long exercise, and we worked very well together, and so I got to know her quite well. And it was,
Okay, thank you.
So Charlie, we've asked you a bunch of questions. Is there anything you would like to add? Anything we haven't asked you that you want to put out there?
well, I think I wondered how many times a year the board meets.
Well, I think this gentleman to my left can answer that question better than I can, but I know since I've been on the board, I think in total, we've met less than 5 times over the last 3 years.
But if somebody put an application in, then we're gonna meet. And then we have had meetings with our financial advisor over the years. But it's generally generated by somebody who wants, to put an application in for a project.
And my last question is, has there any provisions made to increase the amount of the fund over time, like? for
We have
example-
done that in the past. I think, like in the '08, there was a big tumble in the stock market, and many of our assets, most of them are in there. And we took the decision, and I think Mr. Copley even specifically allows it, to take some of our earnings, which we normally distribute, and add it to the principal in order to, beef up the principal side of things. So
But
we have
there's
done that.
there's no provision for an annual 5% of the accumulation to remain within the trust, or any, is that something that the board could do?
I suppose so. Well, our investors have taken $1 million and made it into $2 million, so we're pretty happy with that.
There is some language, I don't remember it offhand, that I remember learning about that specifically says that, it really is money to be used in the community.
Yes, in the village of Morristown.
Right, very
Yeah.
specific, and
Yeah,
that, I took it to mean that he did not want it sitting there, he wanted it out in the community, working.
yeah. But I think we have added to the principal when it was tough times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie, probably after the first of the year, we're gonna put together a workshop for the Copley Trust Board to kind of review the will, take a look at the provisions. One of the things that we've run into is that we really should have, certain members pre-screen applications to make sure that they meet the requirements of the trust. In the application of it, we had one unfortunate situation where somebody applied and were told that they didn't meet the qualifications, and it was an unfortunate situation. So it was a hard lesson learned for everybody. But we'll take a good look at the operations of the board, make sure everybody's familiar with the will and what the mission is, and then we'll make sure that everybody's on board and up to speed, so that next time we have an application come in. And we can also talk about how we get out into the community and talk about the Copley Trust and the availability of funds, because honestly, if you're somebody new into the community or weren't familiar with machinations of the municipality, you might not know about it. And I think that letting the public know what's available and what the parameters are, but to advertise it, so to speak, so that more people are aware of it, we move forward with it.
Good.
Any other questions for us
None.
or comments? None? None? Any questions from the board?
No, I would greatly appreciate you taking your time to come in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Very
We,
Thanks, Charlie.
Santa, hello. You can stand up if I can. There's no disadvantage after sorry spoke. Oh, proceed.
Leah. Leah.
I'm not really sure, Dick. I'm not sure. She's done a slew of things. She's a fundraiser, but I'm not sure what she's doing for right now.
Okay.
hello, Leo.
Hi.
How you doing?
This was just
Long time no
regular
see.
time.
I know.
Good to see you here, I'm happy you're here.
Yeah, sure.
Well, Leah, thank you very much for coming in, and thank you very much for throwing your name in the hat to join the Copley Trust Fund and replace Gloria. She's tough shoes to fill, but thank you very much. So the plan here is to take about 12 to 15 minutes to ask questions. We've received your application. We've had a chance to read through the application, and we just want to ask a few additional questions tonight.
Sure.
And when we're done asking questions, and we'll give you a chance to ask us some questions as well, we will hopefully go into executive session, and we may be making a decision tonight on who we would want to fill the position on the Copley Trust Fund. So I'm going to start things off and just ask the question, if you are appointed to this position, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Well, thank you for having me. What I would hope to accomplish is to steward Mr. Copley's gift in the way that he has set forth, in a way that supports the community in which I live, in which my family is here. So that, to me, is what's important. The projects and ideas come from the community, and so to me, that's great synergy, to steward the gift, but also do so in a way that the community is presenting ideas on how best to help the community and help the residents.
Thank you. Dick?
Yeah, why do you think the Copley Trust Fund work is important to the community?
I think it's important because it originates from someone who has a great love for the community and has made effort and a commitment to provide ways for the community and its residents to better its community. So to me, again, it's that relationship between having funding and some boundaries around that funding, but having the ideas come from the community. To me, it helps keep a community vibrant and thriving, and it helps keep folks alive and involved, but it also helps keep Mr. Copley's memory alive, and the commitment he's made to this community is, you can't miss it, and it's something I appreciate.
Good. Yeah, thanks.
Laura?
How would you handle a situation where your personal views differ from what is best for the community?
Well, it's not about my personal views. So as a trustee, as we're talking about a gift, I can certainly make my views known, but it's the overall vote of the trustees. If I find that I have a conflict of interest, then I would recuse myself. I think it's not bad to have a difference of an opinion. I think sometimes talking about those differences of opinions is a good thing, and often you can reach some common ground, or at the very least some understanding. But that's how I would handle it. The trustees would take a vote, and I would abide by that vote.
Thank you. Richard?
Leah, who maintains the books and records of the Copley Trust Fund?
I believe the town is responsible for the execution of what the trustees decide.
George?
Sure, thank you. Leah, obviously, the community lost a very valuable person and lifelong supporter of Morristown. The board also lost her,
Yes.
and with her went a lot of institutional memory. We now have Dick as our institutional memory person, but as we move forward, we'd like to have more than one person with institutional memory, and that tends to be the non-select board person because
Sure.
they're not subject to the vagaries of elections and whatever. Are you interested in doing this position for that length of time?
Yes, I am. I have noticed that there's not great public record easily found about the trust and all the different things that the fund has funded. And I was at a meeting and I was kind of struck by that as I was listening in the meeting. And I think that's a key thing, because as you said, I worked with Gloria at the hospital, and she had so much institutional knowledge about the hospital, and she schooled me in many ways about the hospital, and so it's a huge loss. And I also think a lot of people know the name Copley, but they don't know the story behind him, and that's the type of thing I would like to help bring further into more community conversations so that it's better known.
Thank you.
So there's a 25-year contract that we expect to. Just for the record.
Yeah.
So after the first of the year, we're hoping to have an organizational meeting of the board to talk about some parameters, how we can better serve the community, process applications, perhaps pre-screen them, talk about, what our mission really is according to the will, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify, those kinds of things. So, if you're appointed to the board, we would have that tutorial, benefits everybody, honestly, because essentially we meet fairly frequently, only when there's an application that's sent. And since I've been on the board now almost 2 years, we've had really one come in, so it's important to have everybody on the same page and up and running, so.
I think I've worked for nonprofits for most of my career, and I have been in philanthropy, fundraising, but also strategic communications and PR. And I also hold a certificate in nonprofit management. And so part of, as you fundraise, you also have to make sure you steward the gift, and you have to demonstrate, you've gave me this money, or my organization this money, this is how the organization has used it, and you need to share that back with the community. This is how we used your gift, and this is the ramifications of that, and this is the impact of that gift. But as I've also written grants, so you need to also realize what to look for and what questions to ask. As someone is asking for money, have they done their due diligence? Is there, how are they going to measure or quantify the project in a way that's measurable for you as the fund to say, this is the impact that we've had. So I think having that background, it's like the yin and the yang. It'd be interesting to do it from the other side of the table compared to the decades I've spent on this side of the table.
Right.
And we have a revolving community here too, an evolving community, and I'm not sure that there's that many people out there that really fully understand what the Copley Fund is. And I think the idea of public relations and letting people know the parameters and what's available would be a good thing to do too, be more proactive in what it represents and what we can do.
So Leah, we've asked you some questions. Anything you want to add that we haven't asked?
You answered some of that. I wondered what did you see as the key deliverables in like the first year for this trustee? Is there anything in particular you wanted them to focus on?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to that?
Didn't quite get the question.
Was there anything specifically you wanted this new trustee to focus on, maybe in the first year of their service?
What a trustee would focus on?
Is there anything in particular that you wanted this trustee to focus on? I heard him mention perhaps PR.
We've never really divvied up our duties, so that is a possibility that somebody would be valuable who could do that, that's for sure, yeah.
I think, as Chris alluded to earlier, we would be looking to perhaps clean up the appearance of the board, and, well, clean up's the wrong word, but just make it more obvious that the board is here, that that the trust fund is here, that there is money available to the community, and make sure that the community understands the factors that it would need if it wanted to apply for some of this money. And that's something that we'll be looking to do in January.
I thought it was an interesting point that you made, and I had also done this and had forgotten I had done this, is looking at to see historically what we had funded. And I remember, I don't know when I ever did find it exactly, but I appreciate that information. That might be something.
Yeah, there's a long laundry list of past stuff that dates back 20 some odd years that we were presented, but I think that, not fully understanding what the will is, what the parameters are. I mean, one of the things that, we learned, I learned looking at the will is that the town is responsible for long-term maintenance, So is a certain project that's not building, a concert venue down here at the park, but something that's, some construction project someplace, do we want to be maintaining that on a building or, whatever, those kinds of things. So I think that, as we go through this meeting, hopefully after the first of the year, we'll have a better appreciation for really what the board needs to do. And I think that those are some of the important things. I think the rest of it will come out in terms of the public relations and how we, handle pre-screening applications and all those kinds of things will be sort of a development from that. But I think that everybody needs to understand what we're deciding about. I think that's fundamental, my personal opinion.
So I think you mentioned that there was only one request recently?
Well, we had a couple of requests, but we only acted on one because one didn't qualify.
Okay. So how many requests do you typically get annually?
Not very many. As somebody else asked that question earlier, having been on the board for, almost 3 years now, you can certainly count in one hand the number of times that this board is met, let alone the number of requests, so few.
I will say that, there's a lot of new movement in town and development, and I'm currently on the Morrisville Developmental Fund, and so people are actively looking, so I anticipate that there may be an increase once people realize, but I do think that the nature of this fund, it's not a wide open fund, so it's very specific, so that also limits who.
Right, it does, it's an interesting parameter to have the town responsible for the ongoing, depending on the project. I thought funding the History and Art Walk was a brilliant project. That was a brilliant project.
Well, thank you, Leah. Thank you very much for coming in.
I appreciate the information.
As I said before, we're hoping to make a decision tonight, and I'm sure somebody from administration will be getting back to you.
All right, thank you very much.
By the way, George and Laura, there's a card that I received. It's addressed to the select board.
when you're done, just, I haven't, Richard and Chris haven't seen it. Okay.
Right up front. There you go. Right up front. Never need a microphone.
You don't have one in the classroom?
They do, but they don't let me use it.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for throwing your name in the hat and putting in an application to replace Gloria. She'll be big shoes to replace, and
Yes.
we appreciate you putting your name out there. Our plan here is to, well, you're the fourth of our 4 applications at this point, so we're looking at about 12 to 15 minutes here to ask you some questions. We've seen your application, we've had a chance to read it, and as I said, we have a few additional questions we want to ask. We're hoping in about 20 minutes to go into executive session, and we're hoping at the end of that we may come out and have a decision. So I will start things off and just say, if you are appointed to this position, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Just like reading, so just knowing some of the stuff that's already been done, I'm just hoping that there's stuff that we go into that are sustainable. Like I think of like the track, it kind of wasn't sustained well through the Copley funds. And so I like to just think about what are some things that will help everybody, not just like, youth and adults, and what can we do to provide things for everybody, not just a certain area of the community. And I just think there's a lot that could be done. I know that they just did the porch of it, the golf course. And so I just think some of those things that are wide-reaching to many people, I think is the key, not just one lane.
Okay, great, thank you. Dick?
Why do you think the Copley Trust Fund Board's work is important to the community?
From just seeing what has already been done, I think.
Just whatever perspective you want to take.
Yeah, just seeing what some of the stuff that's already been done, I'd like to see it continue, and looking at kind of what the parameters are around the fund. I'd just like to see us help the community as much as we possibly can and grow different areas, and maybe some of the stuff that's already been done, does it need more to continue its sustainability?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Laura?
Hey, everybody. Look around. How would you handle a situation where your personal views differ from what is best for the community?
I think in my job I compromise a lot as a teacher, and I think all voices need to be heard, and I may not agree, but I think you have to go with the majority, and I'm assuming everybody has best intentions, and I think with best intentions, we need to make a collective decision based on that.
Richard?
Hey,
Who maintains the books and records of the Copley Trust Fund?
if I'm looking straight at the thing, it was a Union Bank was kind of the based on what I read, that Union Bank kind of is the holder of everything. And that's kind of, that's from what I read, that's how I took it, that's the lane of how it's kept.
George?
So, when Gloria Wayne passed, she left a huge hole in the community, but she also left a huge hole on this board. And one of her many gifts to this board was the institutional memory that she brought, as Dick still does for us. That's a person I think we're looking for, as the other 5 of us come and go on the vagaries of the vote of the community. Are you willing to look at that kind of a commitment to this board?
Definitely. I kind of have, every time different boards come up, I've thought about, should I throw my hat in? Should I do it yet? Am I ready for that? And I feel like where I am in my life now, that my kids are grown, and kind of where I am in my career, I feel like now is my time to give back and to be able to kind of have longevity into something else.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things I'll mention to you, as I did with the other applicants, is we're looking to have an organizational meeting, a workshop sometime, hopefully after the first of the year, to sort of review the will, the trust and mission statement, what the parameters are in terms of how we allocate money. We're going to talk about a pre-screening process so that we don't have applicants show up and then be told that they don't qualify. And just make sure that everybody understands the role and the types of things that we are required to do in terms of analyzing an application. I think also, the fund itself is something that not everybody probably knows about. We could probably do a better job in terms of not advertising, but at least making people aware of what the fund is and that it's available. I mean, everybody is scrambling for dollars, but on the other hand, the community good is the key piece of this, and we want to make sure that whatever we do, that there's longevity, but also the ability to invest in the whole community. So you could expect, if you're on the board, that we will be having a workshop, so that it's not, your first meeting might not be the first time you have an application, it will be a tutorial.
So Elizabeth, we've asked you a number of questions. Do you have questions for us or anything you might want to add that we haven't asked you?
I was trying to think of this earlier today as I was kind of going through this. I guess when I was reading some of the kind of parameters, it said like no politics, no education, like those were the areas, and I can't remember the other one, but yeah, so thanks. So like I guess the education piece, like when I look at that, does that mean that like, because obviously they did the track and other stuff, so it's for the greater community, but not that would sustain just the school, I guess, is that, when I'm just thinking of one piece of that.
I'd have to look at the thing, I'm sorry.
Okay, no,
I
it's
don't
fine,
have
I'm
it
just
here.
going by what I read
Yeah.
when I was looking over stuff last
Seems
night.
like Mr. Copley did not want it to go for educational
Right,
purposes.
so as I was thinking, like, it's not like, oh, we're gonna give you money to hire a teacher,
No,
but,
no,
that's it.
no.
From my understanding, reading of it, and understanding not-for-profits and listening to Gloria, the one time we met, is that it has to be something open for everybody.
Right.
Like, we funded the patio on, at the
Golf course, right.
which everybody
Can use, yes.
So I think that's, if you have education, it narrows the scope of use.
Right.
So that's my understanding of it, is that it's gotta be a real broad-based,
Like, everybody gets to use it.
yes.
It
has
can't
to
just
have
be pigeonholed into
an
one.
application that is available.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes, and another thing he said, he didn't want to fund things which the town or the village, in its normal course of affairs, had the responsibility for funding.
Yeah, you don't cross over, good point.
In educational language, you can't supplant.
Right.
Yeah, as we all know.
I just think I don't know, just reading the will and stuff, I just thought it was so cool that just the legacy alone, to leave that legacy here, and then I even like at the end of maintaining the gravesite, I just thought that was having it checked and stuff. I guess for me is this the legacy piece of I've worked at school for 35 years now, and just that legacy I think is just phenomenal, and the traditions and all those things I think is important to me, and I think that's what kind of brought me here, is just that piece of giving back to the community, because I think that's important, and I just see that continuing through this fund.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for.
Any other
coming.
questions from the board? Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, have a good night.
Okay.
too.
I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and a possible appointment for a new member to the Alexander.
Stay here if you want.
Yeah, you can stay here if you'd like.
Oh, you're going upstairs, okay.
Okay, I have a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Discussion. We will be going upstairs for executive session, so just want to be clear. Yes.
Can you include in that motion that Judy and, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's another motion. It's two motions.
Okay, excellent.
I don't have the second motion.
I got the second.
Okay,
It's
So-
procedural.
all those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
We have a second motion?
So I move to go into executive session to discuss the appointment of a public officer subject to Title I VSA, Section 513, Sub A, Sub 3, to include Town Manager Brent Raymond and Executive Assistant Judy O'Leary.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by George and a second by Richard. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Okay, so
You want me to do a flight
5:50,
of stairs to get upstairs?
we entered. Okay, so we're back. Can I have a motion to come out of executive session, please?
I would move to come out of executive session at 6:03.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Chris and a second by Richard Craig to come out of executive session at 6:03. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous. Okay. I believe the board has made a decision. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Alexander Hamilton Copley Trust Fund Board appoint Leah Hollenberger as a board member.
Thank you, George. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
So I have a motion by George and a second by Chris. Any discussion?
I think I just want to say that this decision was not an easy decision to make. We have, 4 excellent candidates, all with great attributes. We really appreciate not only the interest, but ongoing services by you folks that came in tonight. These are tough decisions, but that's what we got elected to do, and we wish we had 4 vacancies because we take you all, but just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris, for that.
I was gonna say the same thing, I wish we could have all of you. It's just heartbreaking to not have seats for everybody, and I so greatly appreciate all of you who already are serving on boards, but coming in, and I know each one of you are so highly respected, so this was hard to make this decision, sorry.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That would be opposed? That would be unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by George. I have a second by Chris. Discussion. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, folks.